duct bank is permitted to contain a mixture of different sized conduits such as 4-inch, 3-inch, and 2-inch conduits within the same installation. There is no specific requirement mandating that all conduits within a duct bank must be of the same size. The primary considerations when designing and installing a duct bank with varying conduit sizes revolve around ensuring adequate spacing, proper support, and adherence to applicable codes and standards. Firstly, the spacing between conduits is crucial for heat dissipation and to prevent overheating, especially when the conduits carry power cables. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides guidelines on conduit spacing in Article 310.15 and related tables. These tables specify ampacity derating factors based on the number of conductors in proximity. When mixing conduit sizes, engineers and installers must calculate the appropriate spacing to ensure that the ampacity of the conductors is not compromised due to excessive heat buildup. Secondly, the structural integrity of the duct bank must be maintained regardless of the conduit sizes used. The duct bank should be designed to withstand the weight of the conduits, cables, and any external loads, such as soil or traffic. Proper support systems, including concrete encasement or other approved methods, should be implemented to prevent sagging or displacement of the conduits. Thirdly, the fill ratio within each conduit must comply with NEC regulations. The fill ratio refers to the percentage of the conduit's cross-sectional area that is occupied by conductors. NEC Section 314.16 and Chapter 9, Table 1 specify the maximum allowable fill ratios for different types of conduits and conductor arrangements. When using different sized conduits, each conduit must be assessed individually to ensure that the fill ratio does not exceed the permitted limit. This ensures that conductors can be easily pulled into and out of the conduit and that adequate ventilation is maintained. Fourthly, when installing conductors in a duct bank, it is essential to consider the ampacity of the conductors and the associated derating factors. The ampacity of a conductor is the maximum current it can carry continuously without exceeding its temperature rating. NEC Table 310.15b16 provides ampacity ratings for various conductor types and sizes based on insulation temperature rating and ambient temperature. However, when multiple conductors are installed in close proximity, such as in a duct bank, the ampacity must be derated to account for the increased heat buildup. NEC Table 310.15 cone provides ampacity adjustment factors for multiple conductors in a raceway or cable. The derating factors depend on the number of current-carrying conductors in the duct bank. It is crucial to calculate the derated ampacity for each conductor and ensure that it is sufficient for the intended load. Fifthly, the type of conduit used in a duct bank can vary depending on the application and environmental conditions. Common types of conduits include rigid metal conduit, or RMC, intermediate metal conduit, or IMC, electrical metallic tubing, or IMT, and rigid polyvinyl chloride conduit, or PVC. Each type of conduit has its own advantages and disadvantages in terms of cost, strength, corrosion resistance, and ease of installation. RMC and IMC are typically used in applications where high strength and protection are required, while EMT is often used in exposed locations where it can be easily accessed. PVC conduit is lightweight, corrosion resistant, and suitable for underground installations. When mixing conduit sizes in a duct bank, it is important to ensure that the different types of conduits are compatible and that the installation meets all applicable code requirements. Sixthly, the depth of burial for a duct bank is another critical consideration. NEC Section 300.5 specifies the minimum burial depths for different types of raceways and cables. The burial depth depends on factors such as the voltage of the cables, the type of surface above the duct bank, and the presence of vehicular traffic. Shallow burial depths may be permitted if the duct bank is encased in concrete or if other protective measures are taken. It is essential to comply with the minimum burial depth requirements to protect the conduits and cables from physical damage and to ensure the safety of personnel. Seventhly, proper grounding and bonding are essential for the safe operation of a duct bank. Grounding provides a low impedance path for fault currents to return to the source, while bonding ensures that all metallic parts of the electrical system are at the same potential. NEC Article 250 provides detailed requirements for grounding and bonding electrical systems. In a duct bank, it is important to bond all metallic conduits, enclosures, and equipment to ensure that there are no voltage differences that could pose a shock hazard. The grounding and bonding system should be designed and installed in accordance with NEC requirements and should be regularly inspected to ensure its effectiveness. Eighthly, when designing a duct bank, it is important to consider future expansion. The duct bank should be sized to accommodate not only the current load but also any anticipated future loads. This may involve installing additional conduits or upsizing the existing conduits to provide spare capacity. Planning for future expansion can save time and money in the long run by avoiding the need to dig up and replace the duct bank later on. Ninthly, proper documentation is essential for the installation and maintenance of a duct bank. Detailed drawings, specifications, and calculations should be prepared and maintained for the duct bank. The drawing should show the location of the conduits, the size and type of conductors, the spacing between conduits, and the depth of burial. The specification should specify the materials and methods used for the installation, while the calculation should demonstrate that the duct bank meets all applicable code requirements. Proper documentation can help to ensure that the duct bank is installed correctly and that it can be easily maintained and repaired in the future. Tenthly, regular inspection and maintenance are essential for the long-term reliability of a duct bank. The duct bank should be inspected periodically to check for any signs of damage, such as cracks in the concrete encasement or corrosion of the conduits. The cables should also be inspected to ensure that they are in good condition and that there are no signs of overheating or insulation breakdown. Any problems that are identified should be promptly addressed to prevent further damage and to ensure the safe operation of the electrical system. In summary, while mixing conduit sizes in a duct bank is permissible, it is essential to adhere to all applicable codes and standards and to consider factors such as spacing, support, fill ratio, ampacity rating, conduit type, burial depth, grounding and bonding, future expansion, documentation, and maintenance. By following these guidelines, engineers and installers can ensure that the duct bank is safe, reliable, and meets the needs of the electrical system.